而家開始會議。今日會議
Members, I now call to order the meeting. This meeting is on the latest position of the construction of the Hong Kong section of the Guangzhou-Shenzhen-Hong Kong Express Rail Link. This is actually a continuation of the last meeting. Last time, many members would like to ask questions, but we didn't get to them. Now, a number of documents were submitted before the meeting. I won't go through them. There are over a dozen of them, actually. The next regular meeting will be on the 4th of July, Friday, 10:45 a.m. It's to talk about the future development of the railway system. And then on the 13th of June, Friday, 10:45, there will be a special meeting. Last time I suggested talking about the financial arrangements between the MTR and the government on the express rail link, like sharing of profits and so on. But then the administration told us they're still preparing the information. They propose to give us an account after summer. So I propose that we still keep the meeting on the 13th of June to talk about the progress of the West Island line. And then on the 27th of April, there were 3 signaling incidents involving the East Rail. There was widespread media coverage, but there was no formal response from the MTR members. What do you think? Mr. Wu Chi-wai? On the Express Rail Link case, there may still be further development. You set the agenda. Let's say today there is a follow-up on the XRL delay, and we need an extra meeting. Are you going to schedule another meeting, or how are we going to do it? If the majority of members believe there's still a need for another meeting, of course I will consult members. If more than half of the members agree, then we will schedule another meeting. But for the special meeting on the 13th of June, well, because we have the commissioning of the West Island line soon, and also the signaling problems of the East Rail, we have to address those issues, so that we shouldn't delay it. And now for today, what I plan to do is at around 11, the administration and the MTRCL will finish their presentation. And then from 11 o'clock, there will be 80 minutes. I will set aside 60 minutes for the first round of questions and answers for members. And then for the next 20 minutes, there will be for the second round of questions and answers for members. And then by about 12:20, I will deal with the 2 motions that we did not manage to get to last time. So any objection? No? In that case, I will invite the administration and the MTRCL representatives to join us. Members, to save time, I will not introduce the teams from the administration and the MTRCL. Well, they are more or less the same team as for the last meeting, and you know them well anyway. Before I invite members to ask questions, I would like to remind you that in accordance with Rule 83A of the Rules of Procedure, you should disclose any direct or indirect pecuniary interests. So I'd just like to remind members. So far, 9 members have indicated, 10 members have indicated their wish to speak. So for the first round, 4 minutes each. Now I am setting aside 60 minutes for the first round, so that means 5 more members could speak. So I'm setting aside 5 more slots for members who may join us later. But I must say this now. After 5 members, I will draw the line. So we can't allow members to keep coming in and asking to speak like last time. Now, Secretary, short opening remarks from you. Yes, thank you for allowing me the chance to speak first. Now, on the delay of the XRL, members have expressed concerns of the public have expressed concern on a number of areas. That is, on the 21st of November, at the meeting between the Transport and Housing Bureau and the MTR, whether there's any collusion between the 2 parties to cover up the delay of the project. Now, we submitted the notes of the meeting, and that should show you that both sides were acting in good faith to review the progress of the works and assess the completion dates of the XRL and also its commissioning date. Now, the key project was the 826 Contract 826 tunneling works. The administration asked a number of questions of the MTRCL representatives. They gave their response at the meeting, and it's pointed out that for Contract 826, when it's completed, that is tunneling works, and then when the tunnel boring machines reach the Hong Kong side, the MTRCL could try to recover the delay, and they could assess the latest impact. They would like to be given 6 more months to assess the impact. And if before the situation was certain, if they then relinquished on the 2015 completion date, then they won't be able to make contractors to make up for lost time, and that would become a self-fulfilling prophecy. On the 22nd of November, at the Subcommittee on Railways meeting of the LegCo, the Bureau explained that the main works of the XRL would be completed within 2015, and there will be another 6 months for testing and trial runs. That was a realistic assessment given the latest information. There was no collusion involved. As the Secretary of the Bureau, I endorse that assessment. Now, works could be delayed due to various reasons. There could be human factors. There could also be weather condition and other works factors. So the administration has appointed an independent expert panel chaired by Mr. Justice Michael Hartman and there will be 2 other experts from overseas. They will review the works, the project management monitoring and so on, and look for inadequacies. If, of course, someone is found to be at fault, they will be taken to task. And now, it's based on the good track record of the MTRCL. That's why the administration chose not to micromanage the project, but rather we adopted the monitoring and verification role. That is, we adopt the check-the-checker mode in monitoring the works. In the latest paper from the Highways Department, they have explained their work, and they will be able to answer members' questions later on. For the independent expert panel, it will also review the monitoring work of the Highways Department and also to identify inadequacies in the role played by the THB. And thirdly, the administration will ask MTRCL to try to recover delay as soon as possible and also manage cost. The Highways Department will monitor the work of the MTRCL. We will not overlook any aspects of the works just because of the hassle the problems we are in now. And then we will also ask the MTRCL to provide more information on the project delay and on the liabilities of the MTRCL under the entrustment agreement. We will consult the Secretary for Justice to protect the interests of taxpayers. We will work in accordance with the law. And then we will also follow up on the management or the governance of the MTRCL. Now, the governance of the MTRCL will certainly be within the scope of the review. the administration will step up monitoring of the MTR and perform our duties as the majority shareholder. We will roll out a series of measures step by step to improve the governance of the MTR. We will nominate additional not executive directors, but we must understand that the MTR is a listed company. We must go by the company's ordinance and the relevant listing rules. As the secretary for transport and housing, I've always been going by the principle of being professional. In my report given to the administration is based on the professional assessment of the Highways Department. I will never allow politics to go before the realistic assessment. Now, preference and views cannot take the place of, and taste and opinion cannot take the place of intelligence and knowledge. So that's how I perform my duties. Thank you. MTRCL, please. Members, Mr. Chairman, thank you for arranging this meeting so we could continue to answer questions from members. The administration has expressed, the public have expressed much concern about the XRL. That's because the XRL is an important project. There are a lot of views in the community now that what we should do now is to look forward to make sure the XRL could be completed in accordance with the revised schedule. That is, it will be commissioned in 2017. We attach great importance to this task. We will certainly comply with the entrustment agreement we signed with the administration and discharge our duties in ensuring the completion of the XRL. We will also work closely with the administration. During the works, we will step up reporting to the administration on the progress of the works. We will also provide more detailed reports to the Subcommittee on Railways. And to facilitate members' inspection of information related to the XRL, we said we would set up a data room near the Admiralty area. We have now identified location, and we expect that the data room could be opened in June for access by members. Now the works are actually still going full steam ahead, and our project team has actually made some progress. Now I'll invite Jay to give you a brief report.
Thank you, Raymond. Mr. Chairman, honorable members. Thank you for the opportunity to update you today on the XRL project. I am pleased to report that the plan is being carried out and the project is moving forward. Over the last few weeks, I have spoken with major contractors. Each of the contractors, as well as the project's design consultants, has confirmed to me that the revised plan we have in place is both achievable and realistic. They actively support and they are implementing the program that will deliver the XRL project for service in 2017. There are now more than 8,500 people working on XRL construction sites. Everyone is very focused on the work to be done, and they remain excited about completing the project in 2017. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit several XRL project sites, and I could feel the commitment and the spirit of the teams in each of those locations. At the West Kowloon Terminus, a site that some of you visited last month, that's one of the locations where the project's progress is very clear. At the southern end of the terminus building, you can now visualize the railway taking shape. The individual platform and track areas are clearly defined. And in the finished room, the transformers that will power the terminus have just been delivered, and they are ready now for installation. Going to another critical area in Yunlong, the team is working hard to put the damaged tunnel boring machine back into action. More than 2,000 components have been removed, and they are being repaired or replaced with the help of technical experts from the Japanese supplier. There are some specialized components that will take a few months to arrive from Japan. During that time, the team will be completing as much work as they can to prepare for its reactivation, including the detailed inspection of all of the cables and the wirings. Of course, the XRL project still has a long way to go. To ensure that we stay on schedule and on top of all the issues, we have also taken immediate steps to strengthen our internal project management and monitoring processes. This important effort is continuing. Once again, I want to assure this subcommittee that we take our responsibilities very seriously. We are committed to continuing to move this project forward and to do so in a spirit of greater openness and transparency. Thank you very much.
Thank you. 我哋而家開始。
Thank you. Now I open the floor for question and members. 4 minutes, question and answer. Ms. Elizabeth Quat. Yes? Sorry. Can you maybe read out our names so that we know where we are? Elizabeth Quat, Loei Quat, Priscilla Leung, Michael Tian, Wong Kok Hing, Wu Chi Wei, James To, Claudia Mo. Miss Elizabeth Quat. Mr. Porter has raised his hand. Oh, okay. He will be the 11th one. I heard from the Bureau Secretary that there will be a series of measures, and also there is the independent expert panel being set up led by Mr. Justice Hartman. I'm pleased to hear that. And I heard from the public that in this regard, when it comes to monitoring and supervision, that there are only measures to step things up instead of penalizing or investigating into who is to be held responsible. The public finds it unpalatable. And I would like to ask the administration, is it the case that it will be only in the future that improvement will be introduced to the governance of the MTRCL, and this time round, when it comes to the board, the management, and the relevant team of the MTRCL, they will not be held accountable? Secretary, as I said, there is an independent expert panel set up. It will look into the system, the procedure, and the approach to find out why there was a delay. Of course, they will also look at project management and supervision. When it comes to supervision, they will not only look at the internal supervision of the MTRCL, but also the Highways Department, the THB, and myself as well. The terms of reference of the independent expert panel is quite wide. When it comes to MTRCL governance, it's a matter of a wider scope. As I said at the outset, we will follow that up. The administration has already started work in this regard. But the public is of the view that the CEO of the MTRCL is still there. He will still occupy his position until the expiry of his contract, and then he will get his gratuity. So people are rather unhappy. That means that until the expiry of his contract, he will go scot-free. Isn't it unfair to the public of Hong Kong? Perhaps I will defer to Mr. Raymond Chen to answer. I think Ms. Elizabeth Quat is talking about the CEO. MTRCL is a listed company, and they will deal with it in accordance with their responsibility as a listed company. Mr. Chen. We have already announced that we will set up an independent committee made up of the board members of the MTRCL, and that's our responsibility. And on more than one occasion, we have apologized to our inadequacies when it comes to informing the public and the inadequacies in the communication. In relation to the independent committee, they will they will submit their first report in July. They will identify areas for improvement, and If someone is to be held responsible, they will make recommendations. And I'm sure that the board will seriously consider these recommendations. We will implement the recommendations as necessary. Now you have this independent committee to look into it. People are worried that there is only insiders investigating into themselves. Well, may I continue? We're talking about a listed company, and it's a large corporation. We have the responsibility. It's not a matter of the same people investigating into themselves. There is a need for this independent committee. These are independent board members. They will exercise their independent judgment and professionalism to look into this matter. They will be pragmatic and objective. And they will identify areas for improvement. In order to have sustainability, this is something we have to do. Mr. Loy-Kwok. Thank you. The delay of the XRL is something that cannot be argued. And I think what the public is concerned is how we can make an accurate assessment of the commissioning date of the XRL and to reduce the delay and the cost overrun as much as possible while keeping safety and reliability of the XRL. I would like to hear explanation in detail from the XRL team of the MTRCL. There are a number of major difficulties, a couple of major difficulties. One of them is the Yunlong section in relation to the TBM, the tunnel boring machine. I hope that, as you said, repair work will complete at the end of this year. This is a thorny issue and not easy. So are you confident that repairing work will complete? Because there are overseas examples that result in change in the alignment. But I understand that for our XRL, there is impossible to change the alignment. So you have to make sure that the TBM is repaired. And in relation to the delay of the diaphragm wall along Jordan Road, there is a delay of 1 year. This is quite critical. How can you ensure that it can be done and so that the commissioning date will not be further delayed? Mr. Walder.
Antonio Choi, our project director, to speak to this.
Choi Sang.
Perhaps I will talk about the tunneling work and then Mr. Lomas will talk about the other area. In relation to 823, the Yunlong tunnel section, we have drained the water in the tunnel, and we have spoken to the manufacturer of the TBM. We've asked them to look at the condition of the TBM, and we have considered various options. The most viable one we have considered is to repair the TBM in situ. We have started removing the relevant components. We're talking about 2,000 such components, mainly electronic parts. They have to be replaced. We have lost no time. We have placed orders for these parts. In relation to some others, they are quite unique. They are tailor-made for this TBM, so it will take longer, 5 months. As for the other parts, they have started arriving. Our assessment is that after arrival of all the components in 5 months' time, we will start putting them in place, and we have also put in place 2 months for installation and calibrating. We think that not long after that, the TBM will function normally. And it will take another month before we finish the 50-month drilling, 50 meters of drilling. And we have also put in place large-scale improvement measures to improve the performance of the TBM. We'll now move on to the West Kowloon terminus. Mr. Lomas.
Mr. Lowe asked about the diaphragm wall in Jordan Road. The diaphragm wall in Jordan Road area is now complete, but during the time of the delay, we stated in our paper as well, we took the opportunity to install the large steel cruciform columns from the ground level instead of from bottom up, and that will enable us to build both the rooms and start the E&M works as we build from the top downwards, and this can run concurrently with the excavation work below as we build and allow us to work at both B2 and B3 levels as we excavate the rock below B3.
Ms. Priscilla Leung. Thank you. We're talking about public interest in relation to the delay of the XRL. We have to hold people accountable. We have to make investigation and make compensation. And I think the matter now is who is to make compensation and how are we going to deal with the result when we have the investigation result. I represent the Tai Kok Tsui monitoring group. I've started monitoring the project a few years ago, and we have written to the chief executive making some recommendations, and these recommendations have been taken on board. We asked for the independent expert panel to involve overseas experts, and that happened. And on the face of it, as this matter pans out, the CEO of the MTRCL admitted that they have given some advice. And I think on the part of the administration, is an error of judgment, so they have to be held accountable. Otherwise, people will not find that acceptable. When it comes to the investigation, in what direction will it take? The public is concerned about efficiency, reliability, and safety. Where the areas along the alignment actually suffer. If you go to West Kowloon, you see how poor the traffic is. So with investigation, how can the administration ensure that efficiency will be back on track? I hope the administration will not give us guesstimates anymore. And when it comes to cost overrun, who is to make compensation? The public is very concerned about this. Well, there are different sums, huge sums when it comes to the cost overrun, and smaller sums. Well, when people are inconvenienced as a result of the delay, who is to pay compensation? Will professional assistance be given to these people? And people who have been affected, can they seek compensation, reasonable compensation? I think people are very concerned about this. People are now concerned once again about safety. Can you clearly tell us how you're going to follow this up?
Who'd like to respond, please? Mr. Chairman, let me say a few words and then I'll leave the specific details to the MTRCL colleagues. Delay, it depends on what the kind of delay, as Dr. Kwok pointed out. Now, for construction works, there may be many factors leading to delay. Some may be beyond control. Maybe it's due to inclement weather, soil condition, and so on. So during construction works, a lot of issues are encountered that have to be overcome. So that's why the independent expert panel have to find out exactly the cause of the delay. Why are we leaving that to the independent expert panel? Because they have the expertise to see where the problems may have lied. It may be due to monitoring, maybe due to the system, and so on. We have to look at all that. And after the panel has formed its conclusions, if there are people involved or some should shoulder certain responsibilities. For example, as the acting chief executive said last Friday, then the administration will follow up separately on the question of responsibility. MTRCL, accountability. Now there is delay. The public won't accept what you've done, especially last week in your press conference. Please let them answer. They only have 10 seconds left. Dr. Leung, as you know, in Hong Kong, we have rule of law. So we have a robust entrustment agreement and is comprehensive. And in the agreement, there are terms on what the MTRCL should be responsible for, and if, on those issues, of course, we will take responsibility. And now we have set up our independent committee, and the government has also set up an independent expert panel, and they will all be looking at this case. And I can tell you in a responsible manner, if certain people or individuals need to show the responsibility, the board of directors will look at that. And with the findings of the independent expert panel, well, the panel will also actually make recommendations. I'm sure the administration will then act in accordance with the findings in a fair manner. Now, but apart from the entrustment agreement, we are, of course, a listed company in Hong Kong, so we must always act in accordance with the law. But, of course, we will take responsibility where responsibility is due. Dr. Leung, it's already past 5 minutes, so save it for a second round, please. I have questions myself.
Mr. Walter, according to the minutes of the November 21st meeting, under paragraph 2, it says here the CEO said that he would further check with the project's director before calling back the secretary. He subsequently called STH again, saying that he had confirmed with the project's director, stressing that SRL would come into service by end 2015. Mr. Walter, did you ever ask the project director a very basic but also critical piece of data? What was his then monthly rock excavation rate at the Kowloon terminus? And by how much would he have to increase that rate by to meet 2015 opening?
Thank you.
Did you ask that question? It's actually a yes and no question.
If I can go to the events of the 21st.
No, I
Mr.
would
Chairman.
prefer you deal with that question directly. Did you ask him for that simple, critical piece of data before you called the secretary back the second time?
I did not ask him a specific question on rock excavation. I asked the projects director and the operations director whether or not we felt that we could achieve the opening of the XRL service by the end of 2015.
Thank you very much. Would you agree that that is gross negligence, probably quite extreme on your part, without doing due diligence and just taking a blanket answer as something reasonable?
Mr. Chairman, I would not agree.
Thank you.
I would strongly disagree.
Thank you.
On the events of that day,
Mr. Walter, I have nothing more to ask on that question, okay? I take your question.
Mr. Chairman, if I may speak to the events of that day?
I'm sorry. I have several other questions. I just needed your response. My second question is, it says here on paragraph 11, MTR failed to see any benefit of changing the 2015 target on the day that you come to see LASHCO. Mr. Walter, what about the importance of honoring your commitment to the public and respect for LASHCO? In your view, is that of no relevance to you at all? Have you forgotten that you're now in Hong Kong and not in New York? And that here we do care a lot about commitment? It was stated here, MTR see no importance of coming clean with the actual picture, or even slight hesitation about completing it on time.
Mr. Chairman, I think your characterization is inaccurate of what took place, and I'd like to clarify that information for the committee. On the events of November 21st, as I said before, I conferred and spoke with both the operations director and the projects director, and subsequently called back the Secretary of Transport and Housing. The Secretary asked for a meeting to be convened later that day. That meeting was chaired by the Permanent Secretary of Transportation. It was attended by myself, by the projects director, the general manager for the XRL project.
Mr. Walter, you are repeating the minutes.
I am trying to clarify.
Please answer my question.
During that discussion, on the basis
why did MTR say there's no benefit of coming clean?
On the basis of the discussion that took place that day, MTRC believed, to the best of the knowledge that I had at that time, that the project could be operated by the end of 2015.
Okay, thank you,
That
Mr.
view
Walder.
forward
Let me
in
come
that
to you
meeting.
for the third question because I'm pressed for time. During that meeting, MTR twice mentioned that you needed 6 more months before you can confirm the completion date. Twice. But then at the end, it's quoted here that they were 2 years before 2015 and they remain confident they will recover the delay. Can you please elaborate how you can change from requesting it 6 more months and then to saying yes? What kind of nonsense is that? You're contradicting yourself.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that MTRC put forth a view about completing the project by the end of 2015, but if you'd like a specific elaboration to the project, I will ask the project's director to speak to what was said at that meeting.
Okay, my time is up. 邊位啊？下位。黃景議員。
Mr. Wong Kok Heng. Mr. Chairman, I welcome the appointment of Justice Michael Hartman to lead the independent expert panel and look into the delay and identify the cause of the delay. Now, just now, the Secretary said something. I welcome that too. He said that for the independent expert panel led by by Justice Michael Hartman, if someone is found to be at fault, the administration will take those people to task. I think this independent expert panel does command public credibility. Now, on what the Secretary stated just now in his opening remarks, I have these questions. First of all, Secretary, you said the administration will fulfill its role as the majority shareholder, and you will be nominating more directors to the board of the MTRCL. So my question is, when will you make the nominations and how many more would you nominate to the board? That's the first point. Second question, I noted in your opening remarks, Secretary, on the question of damages caused by the delay of the project, you said you have asked the MTRCL to provide information on the delay. You said you would also pass on the information to the Department of Justice to look into the liability of MTRCL on the question of damages. So when will a report be available for us? In other words, when will you come to some conclusions? We can't wait indefinitely. I'm sure the public are very much concerned about the $4 billion or so of project management fee. That is, whether you could deduct from that fee. So I like the response from the Secretary on these two questions. Secretary, on Mr. Wong's first question, as I said, the administration will be nominating new directors to the board of MTRCL. We already have plan in mind, but of course we have to go by the nomination mechanism of the MTRCL, which is an established mechanism. The administration plans to nominate one more official and 3 independent non-executive directors to the board. On the question of liability, as I said, we will seek the advice of the Secretary for Justice, and we will look at the entrustment agreement. We will also look at important legal principles. We'll see whether the MTRCL is liable in any way and how far its liability is, and whether the government should be claiming damages. But of course, we need the MTRCL to submit further information before we could do an assessment. Secretary, in your reply, you did not give a timetable or a date. Can you please provide a timetable? I think we need to have some dates to go by so we know when these measures will be put in place. On nominating new directors, as I said, we already have a plan in mind. We will now go through the established nomination procedure to do that, so it won't take too long. On the legal liabilities that involve the entrustment agreement and relevant legal principles and details. And so I cannot say for sure now how long it might take, but I know the public are concerned about it and will press on with it. Mr. Chairman, that's an important focus. I hope the Secretary will take that very seriously. Well, your time's up. I'm sure the Secretary has heard you. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first question. Of course, we welcome the independent expert panel, but can I ask the administration this? How come the expert panel is not set up under the Commission of Inquiry Ordinance, so the expert panel may have extensive powers to carry out its work? Now, that's the first point. Second point, before the independent expert panel started its investigation, Mrs. Carrie Lam already said openly that the panel is not set up to identify responsibilities. How come she's come to this assessment? My third question, at the meeting on the 21st of November, that led you to say openly, Secretary, on the 22nd of November at the subcommittee's meeting, you said the MTR will complete its works in 2015 and there will be another 6 to 9 months of testing and trial running. At a time when you made that assessment, have you first sought the views of the Department of Justice? What sort of legal consequences could there be if you said so? Would it put the administration in an unfavorable position leading to loss of public money? Because from what we understand, the entrustment agreement has set the completion date of the works at August 2015. That's the time when we take over the entire project. So if there's any delay, of course, that will lead to question of pursuing responsibility and claiming damages. So have you sought the advice of the Department of Justice before you made that statement? Now, last time you said you didn't have enough people to do monitoring. If that's the case, how come you didn't tell the LegCo that you didn't have enough people, so you asked for more staff to do a proper job in monitoring? How come at the meeting openly you said there were just 13 staff members, and how are they supposed to monitor over such a large project? Secretary. Now, for the independent expert panel, yes, it's true in its terms of reference. There's no mention of identifying responsibilities for individuals, but it will review the work procedure. Work procedure has to do with people, so the panel will look at the overall picture. And as it makes any assessment or observation, it will see whether there are man-made factors involved. So it's not the case that we will shy away from the question of responsibility. Second question, the 21st of November meeting. It's true the administration did not seek any legal advice because at the time we were just assessing the progress of the works. For the administration and the MTR representatives, we were doing an assessment in good faith at the time. On the entrustment agreement, it's true there's a target completion date, and in accordance with the entrustment agreement, if there is a need, both parties may agree to adjust the completion date because it depends on the difficulties that may be encountered during the works. There's no way we could anticipate all the difficulties that we might encounter in the works, but both parties have been professional and have been acting in good faith in dealing with these issues. Thank you. Mr. Peter Lau. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last time I explained how our road differs from that of the MTR in monitoring the works of the XRL. Now, we have an monitoring and verification consultant. Now, he's repeating what he said. I asked him, now, if you don't have enough staff, why don't you get more staff? Mr. Lau? Now, our monitoring system is based on the recommendation of the consultant, and the size of our team is also based on the recommendation of the consultant. When did you find out you didn't have enough people to do the work? Well, it's based on the arrangements suggested by the consultant in setting up our monitoring system. That's the consultant's recommendation. And we actually entrust the MTR to take forward the project. That's why the MTR has the duty to do its best in taking forward the project. As for the role of the Highways Department, we'll do a risk-based sampling approach to monitor the project. Are you going to retract what you said last time? Time's up.
Well, let me tell you that we have 15 members. We still have Chen Tam Lam, Chen Campaign, Claudia Mo, Christopher Chong, Gary Fan Wong, Helena Wong, and a couple of other members. They have already indicated that they wish to speak, so those who have come late are not allowed to speak. I would like to ask Chairman, if we miss the chance today, do we have another chance? Well, let's see how many people there are in the second round. I've made it very clear. Last time I was a question as to whether I could properly deal with the meeting and the motions. But there are two meetings going on. I said it at the outset. No, but I wasn't there. I wasn't here. Now, I raised that again after they've joined us. If that is the case, then we won't have enough time. Let's see how many people there are in the second round. Then I find it unfair because I have to attend another meeting. We have a public service panel meeting going on. You should have made this clear in the paper. Mr. Zhe, last time I was challenged because it was said that I allow people to keep speaking, and at the outset there were 10 people indicating to speak, and I've already set aside 5 empty slots. But there is another meeting. Then you should have made time to come here. But everything is equally important. Mr. Chen Kam-lam, can we maybe dispense with the second round so that more people can speak in the first round? But there are already indications to speak in the second round. Sorry, microphone's not on. For those who arrive late, perhaps you can put them in front of people in the second round. That's exactly what I may do. So I will have to see how many people will speak in the second round. I will only allow 2 minutes. We will deal with this. Next, Mr. Chen Kam-lam. On the 23rd of May last year, the MTRCL insisted on the commissioning date of 2015, and now it ends up like something like this. And I think it's the MTRCL which has failed to announce the difficulties in the project they have encountered. Of course, we will have to find out who is to be held responsible. And at the same time, we have to ensure that with the revised program, the progress will be in accordance with the revised program. When it comes to the delay recovery measures, are there measures to make sure that these measures are feasible? We still have just over 2 years before the line is commissioned. So in relation to these recovery measures, are they really feasible? After the administration has look at these measures, are there any recommendations on the part of the administration? And in relation to the rock at B4, there is a suggestion that blasting should be adopted. Did the administration immediately consider this to find ways to assist the MTRCL? The superstructure of Nam Chang Station, it is found that there are some deformed piles. Has anything been done in this regard? In the construction of the Nam Chang Station, the Works Department of the MTRCL, did they find out why there is such an incident of deformed piles? Who is to answer on the administration's part? Director. We've asked the MTRCL to give us a detailed report which include the recovery measures. We have received some preliminary information last Friday, but as it's still not enough, we keep asking the MTRCL to furnish further information. After receiving all the information, we will look at these information with the monitoring and verification consultant before we work out the latest revised program. In relation to the deformed piles at Nam Chang Station, there were concerns There were concerns at the time of the construction about short piles. The contractor, the piling contractor has put in an excessive force in boring in their piling work, and as a result, there is a certain part that has taken a turn, and we have to deal with that. And it's mentioned in the supplementary information from the MTRCL. They suggested using a Japanese method. I don't think you have to tell us that. I have a question. The MTRCL once said that there can be a partial operation in 2015. The administration once rejected the idea. Is it the case that that could be considered, well, without contravening the agreement? Mr. Ben Chan. I welcome the setting up of the independent expert panel to be chaired by a High Court judge, and we hope the panel will start its work as soon as possible. The administration quoted an artist, Man Ray, that taste and opinion can, to the effect that taste and opinion cannot take over professionalism, something like that. Well, I do not doubt the finding of the expert panel, but I don't want that to be used as a delaying tactic. Well, and in relation to the internal investigation of the MTR-CL, and I'm also worried that this is only a delaying tactic as well. The CEO has set a bad example that they can mislead government officials, and they can finish, and the CEO can finish the contract and get the gratuity before end of contract gratuity before they leave. Is it fair, Mr. Chen? Mr. Chin? I believe that our independent committee is comprises of ethical men and women. Their objective is to find the truth. Once they've done that, if someone is to be held responsible, they will make recommendation. I would like to ask, when will they come up with an investigation result? Or will it be after Mr. Walter has gone back to his hometown? I've said that in July there will be a preliminary report reviewing the entire matter. To find out the cause of the serious delay. If someone deliberately conceals certain facts or engage in unethical behavior, there will be a motive. If it's a deliberate concealment, and in relation to withholding information from the LegCo or the administration, what benefit will the MTRCL get? I admit that there is a problem and there is a public outcry, and we feel sorry about that. We will improve in the future. The most important thing is that since this is an important project, as a member of the LegCo said, we will have to exercise our team spirit, do our best, and achieve the new target. We have a monitoring mechanism. Our team management will all work together for the new completion date in 2017. Sorry, it's because of my actions. I want to be very, very clear, please, to this committee
that I did not withhold information in any way. I spoke to the government and to this committee to the best of the information that was available to me. Moreover, I believe that I have carried out all of my responsibilities as CEO in a professional manner. I fully respect the investigations that will take place, the independent expert panel, but I must say I have not withheld any information, and I have complied everything to the full knowledge
All right,
that I had.
thank you for your response. 毛孟静議員。
Ms. Claudia Mo. Thank you. In relation to the expert panel, it's chaired by a judge. Well, Chairman, and as the CS4A said that this is to identify inadequacies. You used the words that are usually used on the mainland. You have also emphasized on communication breakdown, something like that. But this is an error of judgment in politics. There are political considerations, and as a result, there is communication breakdown. It seems that there is only one person who is at fault here, from what I heard, is Mr. J. Walder. Is it fair to him? I don't know him, and I won't even ask him to answer. But the impression you give is that when it comes to identifying inadequacies, even when there are inadequacies identified, as Mr. Chen said, there will be recommendations only without any legal binding effect. And the message you send is that after you've done something wrong, you don't have to be held responsible and you can go scot-free. And at the end of the year, when the expert panel released its report, it's very likely that everything, the dust has already settled, and you've just, it will only be a slap on the wrist. And you also talk about nominating independent NEDs and non-executive director. Does it mean that the more the merrier? My question is, in relation to the expert panel, how much money of taxpayers will be spent? Millions? Tens of millions? My second question is for this Bureau Secretary. I think it's ironic. You mentioned Man Ray. He's saying that taste and opinion cannot replace wisdom. Taste and opinion cannot replace intelligence and knowledge. Sorry, I think I think you're trying to say something else here. When it comes to this delay scandal, you try to lower it to a different level or what? Secretary. Well, I think Ms. Mo has put too much into it. When I quoted Man Ray, I was trying to say that politics will not go before professionalism. When it comes to works, projects, it has its own set of rules. It's subject to difficulties posed by nature or technology or something like that. So don't be too sensitive. What about my second point? The terms of reference of the independent expert panel. No, I know about the terms of reference. What about how much is to be spent? We're only talking about millions. 5 million? Mr. James Toll. Chairman, I only have one question, which is for the administration. Why don't they do it like the way of the Commission of Inquiry of the Lemma Island disaster, chaired by Mr. Michael Lunn? In relation to the independent committee of the MTRCL, it gives the impression that it's the same people investigating into themselves. That's why there is no credibility. When it comes to the independent expert panel chaired by Mr. Michael Hartman, do they have the power to summon witnesses? As you know, that if they can only invite witnesses to testify, well, it's only done on their own initiative, and if they don't furnish all the information, if they only answer half of the question, there is no legal consequence. People will only believe it to be true if it has sufficient power. The Hong Kong EX issued. Under the Hong Kong EX, the MTRCL released a statement. It says that when it comes to the understanding of the entrustment agreement, there are different understandings. And the administration said that if there is a cost overrun of say $10 million, it has to be absorbed by the MTRCL. So when it comes to the independent expert panel, since it has no legal power, when they want information from the MTRCL, and the information will show that the MTRCL is at fault, maybe the MTR will think that the information furnished to the expert panel will end up in the end in the hands of CY Leung or the government for their claim. And what about the subcontractors or the subcontractors? These are smaller companies. They may only make a profit of, say, $10 million. If they furnish information and they may be claimed for tens of millions of dollars, will they furnish the information to this expert panel, which has no legal power? They only have the power to summon They don't have the power to summon witnesses. So why don't you do it by way of a commission of inquiries like the one chaired by Mr. Michael Lunn, Mr. Raymond Chen, or Professor Anthony Leung kept talking about interests. But if someone has committed negligence and has taken it and has done it in a laid-back way, what are you going to do? If you want to find the truth, you will have to go all the way. And now you say that the report will be published. I heard from the secretary for the secretary said 9 months ago that the report would be published. However, Joseph Lai and Rinsky Yun both said that the report will not be published. If it is a statutory commission of inquiry like the one chaired by Mr. Michael Lunn, then the report will be published. And if they have to testify under oath, they cannot try to protect one another.
So, Secretary, can you answer on behalf of the Chief Secretary, why don't you set up a commission of inquiry? Secretary, I can't answer on behalf of the Chief Secretary, but the expert panel will review the entire system and all the factors involved. I'm sure Justice Michael Hartman commands public credibility, and he will pursue the matter to the end. And there are two construction experts there. They will be able to see what problems there are. Mr. Porter. Now, in the opening statement, the Secretary mentioned whether there are inadequacies, but getting to the truth of the matter is also our concern. The critical meeting is the 21st of November 2013 meeting. Now, the administration said that the MTRCL did not actually have access, have not confirmed that notice of meeting. And then from November 28 to March 12th, there were also notes of meetings, but again, I believe these notes of meeting have not been confirmed by the MTRCL. Now, on what happened on the 21st of November, from the whole process from 2011 to 2014, all those meetings and so on, can you confirm the notes are correct?
The minutes reflect that both the corporation and government were seeking to provide accurate information on the status of the XRL project. The minutes also reflect the discussions that took place on the 21st, both with the Secretary and later that day in the meeting I described.
So you agree with the
version
version of the government?
Do
you agree with the version of the government?
I believe the minutes accurately reflect that MTRC believed that we could complete the project by the end of 2015.
All right. 嗱，第二個問題，我想問一問呢，就係大家。
So my second question, the project director, Mr. T.C. Chiu, has resigned and his resignation has been accepted. Now, was there any approval of the board of directors for his resignation, or was there any discussion in the board, or did individual colleagues just accept his resignation?
To resign by Mr. Chiu was made to me and it was accepted. There was no discussion with the board of directors.
點解冇呢？會唔會有俾人感覺？
Why not? Why wasn't there a discussion? Would it give the feeling that you're trying to save someone else, and so you sacrifice some other people?
The personal decision, we discussed it at that time, and we move forward.
一個咁重要，可以對將來話。
Well, this is an important decision that might affect the salvation of the entire project, and there was no discussion at the board?
We discussed that Mr. Chiu would stay for a transition period to ensure that we were able to transition, that there would be no impact on other projects. Mr. Chiu assured me that he believed that the project team for XRL and for the other projects were capable of taking forward the projects that were there. That discussion did take place.
Okay. 第三個問題，
My third question. In the administration's paper, it stressed that every month there would be site monitoring procedures to be completed, and then in the document, different mechanisms at different levels of review were described. Now there's contract review meetings, there's a project coordination meeting, and there's a project supervision committee. So many different levels of monitoring. Still, they could not prevent what happened this time. Now you said that you have an independent committee now, and you say that you even make available your documents to LegCo members. Now, for LegCo to monitor your documents, without any support, without any expertise, without any pay, what do you expect us to manage in monitoring? Are you trying to shift the responsibility again? Are you trying to shift the focus? Dr. Chen. Now, we believe when we make available the documents, we could help LegCo members to use their own expertise and judgment. You have so many experts, you can't manage that. How do you expect LegCo to do the work for you? Please wait for the second round. Time's up. Mr. Tan Kapil, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two questions. First one for the Secretary. Now, in response to Mr. Wong Kok Heng, you said there will be one director representing government and 3 independent non-executive directors to be appointed to the board. I hope you'll make the announcement soon. But would they join the board with the mission for the public? That is, they will proactively propose to review or even sanction Mr. J. Walder? That's the first question. Will they do so at the board? A second question, now it's said that the 21st of November meeting was critical and no decision or conclusion could be drawn at that meeting. I think to the MTRCL there's an important document, the 11th of March annual report that was finalized. Now by the 11th of March you should have known everything. In the report you said that in December 2013, there were committee documents to say that even if there's partial opening, the West Kowloon terminus would not be commissioned in 2015. In January 2014, there was internal assessment. It is expected that the projects would be completed by 2016. So already by then, in January 2014, you knew that it was not possible to complete the commission the project by 2015. And then in your remarks on page 19 of the annual report, you still said that the XRL is expected to be completed by 2015, and the West Kowloon terminus will be commissioned then. Now, this is an important document for shareholders, for the board of directors, and for the public, because it's true. The annual report, you give a report on the business of the company for the full year. By then, you should have known everything. How come you still word it this way? Let me take the first question first, Mr. Chairman. New directors to the board. As I explained, that we have already names in mind, but we have to go by the established nomination procedure to nominate directors to the board. For non-executive directors, at the board of directors of any listed companies, these non-executive directors must be independent, and they must have in mind the overall interest of the company. They must ensure there is a good governance. So by nominating more directors, we hope to strengthen the role of the board of directors in that respect. Now, every director, of course, has fiduciary duties to fulfill. So for any new director, definitely he or she will have in mind the best interests of the MTRCL. They will have in mind the best management of the MTRCL in mind. Now, will they deal with Mr. J. Walder's case? Well, I won't comment on how they will deal with that, because MTRCL is a listed company. MTRCL, please. The board of directors, or every non-executive director in the board of directors, he is not executive as such. He is entitled to his own views. And then we will look at the demands from all sides. We will take a balanced view. We'll also look at the long-term strategy and objectives of the company. And as the secretary pointed out, they would like to nominate 3 more directors. And these are independent non-executive directors. Actually, the chairman of the board is also in that capacity. Now, for directors, we have to go through a nomination committee. The nomination committee must be of the view that when this person is appointed a director of the board, he will be able to contribute to the company. Now, in the annual report, the chief executive officer knew it could have been done, but he still put it in the annual report. So how would you see that? But how come they can't tell you earlier, before April? I'll ask Mr. Walder to answer that question.
It was prepared consistent with the information that was available to the executive committee and to the board of directors at that time. We had not at that time been informed of the delay on the project. That information occurred on the 12th of April. As I have said in my remarks previously, when I found out about that on the 12th of April, I immediately called the chairman of the board of MTR as well as the secretary of transportation and housing, but it was not known to us at the time of the annual report.
Thank you very much. 鍾樹根議員。
多謝主席，我就接住副主席問。
Mr. Christopher Chung. Now, I like to pick up on the questions asked by the deputy chairman. Now, Jay Walder, you are the CEO of the company. You said you're not aware of the incident. You only found out later, and there's no cover-up. But there's no cover-up means that you didn't know nothing. So do you actually go to work? What are you doing at work? You are earning $30 million a year. 1 month of your salary is the CSSA payment for someone for 40 years, and you're not able to do that. Don't you feel shame? Where is your professionalism? How can you say that you do not know about this, you only found out about it later? What do you do at work every day? Are you thinking, where are you going for holiday when you're at work? You're paid $1 million a month, and this is how you perform so poorly. So, Mr. Chairman, how can it be? If it's another company, if it's another private company, definitely you will your pay will be suspended, you'll be under investigation, and you let T.C. Chiu to resign so easily. You don't even ask him for explanation, and so you just want to send him up. I think for both of you, your end of contract gratuity should be deducted and withheld. Because if there are damages caused to the company, you should be pursued. How can it be? One is the CEO, one is the project director, and you can say, oh, actually, I didn't know about it. And he said, I don't know about it. And you said you only found out in April. Now, you're not paid $4,000 a month. You are not paid $4,000 a month. You're paid $30 million a year, $1 million a month. How many get to enjoy such high pay in Hong Kong? And you say, there's nothing wrong. Don't you know what shame is? It's shame on you. How can you behave that way? And you mentioned the various mechanisms on the part of the administration. Have they failed? Have you now are you going to come up with new mechanisms to make sure that the same thing will not happen again? Now, Walter, first of all, answer the question, Mr. J. Walter. What do you do every day at work?
I think as Mr. Chu indicated at our last meeting, he did not inform the CEO, the Executive Committee, or the Board of MTR of delays on the project until the 12th of April when he informed myself and the Executive Committee. The reports that had been put forth to the Executive Committee and to the Board continue to indicate that the project could be completed on a schedule for 2015 and that various delay recovery measures were in place to be able to achieve that. On the day of the 21st of November, as has been discussed, I did check with the project director.
You are being a CEO. You are very passive to get the information from your staff. What are you doing every day? What is your daily work? You are dreaming on your office, or you are not attending at your office. Answer me.
I am carrying out all of my duties as CEO in a professional manner. There are procedures in place at MTR for the management and review of the projects. Those procedures were carried out.
Mr. Walter, as CEO, do you wait to be informed every day? Is that your main task?
No, there are established procedures by which we manage and look at the status of projects. For example, every month there is a report brought to the Executive Committee.
I think you've answered my question.
MTR.
Your job is to wait to be informed. So
it's just sitting there waiting to be reported to. Well, that is not what even I won't do it like that. I won't be sitting there waiting for my assistant to give me information. You are the chairman. You are the chairman of the board. You should perform your duty and instead of letting things happen like this, Mr. Chen. I'm a chairman of the board, but it doesn't mean that I call all the shots. I and members of the board immediately set up the independent committee. One of the objectives of the independent committee is to look into the cause of the delay. Well, you are the chairman. How come you were only informed about this at such a late stage? Your time's up, Mr. Gary Fan. Mr. Professor Jerm, the secretary, you talk about an artist. I want to tell you that, well, even if you're not an artist, you will pursue beauty in life. You are the secretary. Your lie is ugly. You want to save yourself and at the expense of your position as a secretary, your professionalism. An accountable official will shoulder the responsibility squarely. According to the minutes of meeting, paragraph 26 of the 21st of November, it says that both of them agree that in the railway subcommittee that they will they agree as to what they will answer in the railway subcommittee meeting. And our secretary actually play along as well. In relation to the undersecretary of the THB, you also conspire to cover up. How are you going to be held accountable? In relation to the 21st of November meeting, there was a consensus that you would concede to the MTR-CL. And in relation to the supplementary information in the 11th paragraph, it says that testing will start in 2017 in relation to the West Kowloon terminus. There are a number of works that have to be continued. In paragraph 13, it says that for the WK terminus, the 2017 it will be commissioned, but there can only be 10 platforms commissioned. Does it mean that at the beginning of the West Kowloon terminus, there can only be partial opening at the beginning? So at the end of 2017, how many more projects have yet to be completed? And I have a question for CEO Mr. J. Walder. When will you step down and resign as a result of your fault and failure? I want to hear from Mr. J. Walder first.
It's my responsibility to continue to lead the corporation in this time, to move the project forward according to the plan that we have put forth, and to work with our 16,000 staff here in Hong Kong to continue to deliver the best service that we can for Hong Kong.
You are not suitable or competent or fit enough to lead your team. Secretary, if in the future this independent expert committee has an observation or found information that I have to show the responsibility as secretary, I will resign. Prior to the meeting on the 21st of November, I never said anything along the lines of conceding to the MTRCL, to the Under-Secretary or the Permanent Secretary. But the expert panel is not to find who is responsible. It's only to identify inadequacies, as the CS4A said. So could it be done in this regard? I believe that the expert panel will not think that there are certain areas that they cannot make observations. I think it's best answered by the Chief Executive. Under Secretary, I would like to be given a chance to answer first. I thank Mr. Fan for giving me a chance to clarify. On the 21st of November last year, after receiving a telephone call from CEO, the Secretary gave me a clear instruction that if commissioning cannot happen in 2015, we will have to explain to the subcommittee. But at that evening, we should get further information from the MTRCL. And that evening, we agree that we could not make it so concrete that it cannot happen in 2015, because the MTRCL would do everything to recover the time lost, and if it's if we've confirmed that it cannot be commissioned in 2015, there will be other repercussions. Ms. Helena Wong. Well, because of the delay of the XRL, the West Kowloon Cultural District will suffer as well. Now, you said, Secretary, that the independent expert panel is to identify inadequacies and not to identify culpability. Yes, it is reasonable, but we need to identify inadequacies and at the same time culpability, because if no one is to be held responsible, well, the chairman of the MTRCL said that I'm only the chairman. I don't have to be held responsible for everything. It seems that it's nothing to do with him for most of the things. And the secretary said that he didn't know about it until a very late stage. Now that the WKCD will be affected as well. So I want to ask, the basement of the WKCD will overlap with the WK terminus. We're talking about 14 hectares of land, which is now taken up by the work of the WK terminus. And originally, it was planned to hand over 8.5 hectares in March 2012, and the 5.5 hectares at the end of 2014. I would like to ask how much of that piece of land has been handed over? Not at all. And now I hear from the MTRCL that it will have to be 2016 before the site is handed over. We're talking about 8.5 hectares in 2012. So we'll have to wait till 2016 for the 14 hectares to be handed over, and we don't know whether it's the beginning of the end of that year. We're talking about M+, and the section between the M+ and the CG Center. If you don't hand over the site, the works of the WKCD will be affected. there will be delay, and as a result, there will be increase in project cost. I want to ask who is to bear that? The WKCD authority, the MTRCL, or the administration? Mr. Choi or Mr. Chow? Mr. Chu.
The area for the Situ Centre is in the possession of WKCDA, and their works are continuing. The area for the M Plus is in the possession of the WKCDA, and their works are continuing. And between the two areas, there is a range of handover dates which are negotiated between ourselves and WKCDA.
我想問有幾多公頃地已經交翻出嚟？
So how much of the land is to be handed over?
Those have been surrendered.
I don't have those figures here.
係咪一個人都唔知啊？
So no one knows? No one knows? So all these undertakings given by the MTRCL are just hot air?
Question?
We have the figures. I don't have the figures here.
All right. So you will follow up and submit
主席，
those
我
now.
有張地。
I have a map here, and I would like to show it to you, and you point out the sites that have been handed over. Or is it the case that none of it has been handed over? And what about the delay of the WKCD? Who is to pay for that?
The area of the Situ Centre is already handed over and is being constructed. The area of the M Plus Museum has already been handed over.
主席，我其實頭先
My question was very clear. I know that is M Plus and Situ Centre are not affected. But I'm talking about the section in between. We're talking about 14 hectares. I think the answer has been given. No one else can answer your question. But I would like to get it in written form. Who is to be held responsible for the delay and the increase in project cost? All 15 members have spoken. And now we have 6 members in the second round. 3 of them asked to join. In order to be fair, and I don't want to be too strict, 2 minutes. For people who have not spoken in the first round, we have Paul Jie, Tony Jie, Frankie Yik, Regina Yip, and then to start with Mr. Lo Wai Kwok and other members. Altogether, 10 members, 2 minutes each. Mr. Wong Kok Heng will not speak. Oh, you haven't even raised your hand. Mr. James To is to take his place. So 10 members, 20 minutes. First, Mr. Tony Jie.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've always expressed concern that the MTRCL will become an independent kingdom. The XRL case shows us that they're actually embarking on that course. So monitoring is important. Going by the Lloyd's design, actually the government has a monitoring role. But then just now, the director of highway said, well, they don't have enough people. So maybe there's a problem with the monitoring. Apart from the highways department with a team of 13, the Jacobs consultant was engaged as well. So I think the Secretary rely heavily on the expert advice of these experts in assessing the situation. Last time I asked a question on the MTRCL report. Does the Director of Highways have any independent assessment for the Secretary? Otherwise, how would the Secretary know how to consider the report? And what about the delay recovery measures? Has the Highways Department given any advice on that? I didn't see that. You've only used the term concern. You only have 2 minutes if you want an answer. Well, I asked about it last time. I asked in the past. has the Highways Department given independent professional advice to the Secretary so he could assess the situation? Instead of just in 2 months' time, all of a sudden, originally the MTRCL said there's no problem with 2015. All of a sudden, it was in just a short space of 2 months, it said that they can only commission the service in 2017. So how come there's no such information? If you need time to compile the information, please act quickly, because I want to know what role the Highways Department has played. And now, what about the future? You know, it's not working and you don't have enough people. Are you just going to leave it to the MTRCL again? So you just leave it to them? Whatever they say, you just accept? Is that the case? Next, Mr. Frankie Yik. After the last meeting, we asked some questions. First, on site investigation, whether enough was done. Now, from the information given this time, they've said that they have done site investigation. Another question that was just asked by Mr. Tony Tse, that is, what is the role of the Highways Department in the monitoring process? Now, you said you have a lot of follow-up actions from the latest paper, but what I don't see is how is it that the Highways Department and the consultant do not have did not manage to detect the seriousness of the problem. Because from the annex you submitted last time, from day one there was always delay. There was never once that the delay was recovered. That is in terms of the master schedule. How come on the 21st of November you accepted what the MTRCL said? I still couldn't see the justifications why you accepted what the MTRCL said, because they said they're confident. Is it just because of Mr. Chiu? He has a high standing in the profession. You just accepted what he said? Director of Highways, how come you've given them the benefit of doubt? Now, on team monitoring the project, what I said was that we couldn't have the team size that could do exactly the same monitoring work as MTRCL itself is doing. I just said that mostly our role is on verification. On Mr. Frankie Yik's question, well, we've been pressing for a detailed account from the MTRCL. Since May last year, we've been pressing them for an account. And then in August, September, they gave us an account about the partial opening or minimum operating requirements, MOR. And then at the November meeting, we knew they had this plan in mind. And as I said earlier, if there could be full commissioning, full tunneling works completed, but only partial use of some of the platforms, we believe that's acceptable. And we also see room for recovering delay, because sometimes it's just about coordination of works, insufficient manpower and so on. If the MTRCL could do something here, they may be able to recover the delay. That's what we said, we thought at the time. Okay, that's the same as what you said in the paper. Mrs. Regina Ip. Now, in the paper, it stated clearly that from November 2010, the 9th Supervision Committee, you already said that there's concern about the works at the Changsha-Wan station. And then in 2013, you knew that the mainland tunneling works were behind schedule. So every month you've been told that there are difficulties, 26 meters down underground. How come you still think that MTRCL could catch up with the works? Now, when you receive warnings about this progress report, yeah, okay, you're not an engineer. You might ask them for a simple chart, and you know every week how much delay they could recover. How come you trusted the MTRCL, or were you just afraid of the MTRCL? Director of Highways. Thank you, Mr. Xie, for your question. We knew all along that the works were delayed, but then, you know, with construction works, we actually live in delays. And our work mostly is about recovering delays. As I said, we saw room then to catch up with the delay. On works sequence coordination, there was a temporary track that would stand in the way of the construction of the terminus. But if the MTRCL and the contractor could work something out there, they should have a chance to recover the delay. We also thought about manpower. We said before there was a shortage of manpower. In November then, along the Cam Tin site and so on, actually the works there were completed. We could see because the works were completed there in Cam Tin, they were able to send more staff to the terminus to recover the delay. And also on improving the work sequence and coordination, we understand the MTR was also in discussion with contractors. If they managed to do that, again, they could speed up work substantially. And there was also the talk of doubling the concrete grouting, and that means the terminus could be completed within 1.5 years. That's why at the time we saw the chance for the delay to be recovered. Thank you. Dr. Wai Kwok. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The administration set up a 3-member expert panel is independent. There are 2 works experts from the United States and the UK. I will not doubt their independence. I hope they will do what they are supposed to do. But should we not also nominate independent construction experts locally, because they will know the local situation well, and they should be able to help the 3-member expert panel who may not have full understanding of the local work situation. So would the administration consider co-opting these local experts? Now that's another question. There's query that for the West Kowloon terminus, yes, there's been delay. At the same time, we understand the complexity of the project. In any case, you're trying to remedy the situation. Just now, the Highways Department has explained the remedial measures, but Mr. C.C. Chiu, can you also explain how come you're confident that there will be no further delays of the West Kowloon terminus? Secretary, if I could respond to Dr. Lowe's first question. In considering the membership of the expert panel, the administration has to consider that for any individual, he must not have been involved in any works of the MTRCL or he has been involved in any way with contractors of the MTRCL. Otherwise, it may give the perception of conflict of interest. But Dr. Low is right that the panel has to understand the difficulties encountered by the local construction sector. So we will pass on that view. Mr. T.C. Chiu, on the works of the West Kowloon terminus, is it true that you could now meet the revised target?
We have reviewed the critical contracts that is within the terminus, and most of the uncertainty has now been reduced. We have the firm commitment from the contractors, and we have a revised plan and program that is realistic based on current production capability. So we are confident going forward with the support of the contractors and the consultants and a realistic program and a reduced uncertainty that we can.
Thank you, Mr. Chiu. Thank you,
Mr. Chiu. Dr. Chen, now our colleagues have asked you a number of questions. Just now we said that Mr. J. Walder believes that as the CEO he will just be informed. On a second point, on the 21st of November, at that meeting, the MTRCL said twice they needed 6 more months. And at the end, he said with confidence that he could achieve the target. So I asked Mr. J. Waldo how come he made that shift in position, but he had to look at his subordinates for reassurance. But he was present at that meeting. And then the third point is that he accepted this this assurance, but he never asked a critical question, that is the rock foundation at the West Kowloon terminus. As a critical question, but he never asked what the figures were, how much they have to boost the production rate to get that done. Last time, Mr. T.C. Chiu mentioned that point, but anyone with some intelligence would know that it's not possible to achieve that. So, Dr. Chen, you say we wait for the July report, but before the report is out, would you consider that at the next board meeting you move a vote of no confidence motion of Mr. J. Walder? Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your question. Actually, my colleague has jotted down all the points and questions. The independent committee comprised of independent non-executive directors of the board, they will take very seriously your questions and they will try to find answers. I think in terms of procedural justice, and before we get to the truth of the case, And before we get all the facts out, I think we must first wait till we get to the bottom of the truth, and if there is a need to take any action. But just now, Mr. Walder admitted it. There's no need to investigate into that. He admitted to that. You still have confidence in him? Now, for his past performance and the way he led the team, I would say I endorse his performance personally. On this incident, if he's done anything wrong, we will take the appropriate action. Mr. Chen Kem-lam. Mr. Chairman, just now I asked the administration. Now, the MTR said that there could be partial opening in 2015. Of course, now, if we have to wait till the third or fourth quarter of 2017 before there could be full commissioning, it would be most undesirable. Now, while not breaching or getting in the way of the enforcement of the entrustment agreement, if we allow partial opening, would it be desirable? Secretary. Well, I think members have to understand what we're talking about. Partial opening. That is, not all 15 platforms need to be commissioned. That's what the MTRCL is saying. That is, at the start of the service, there's no need to have 15 platforms. So that means on day one we need to have all the required services. That's what we mean, even by partial opening. For full opening, it takes some time actually for adjustments and adaptation of the systems and operation and so on. So what if we settle for second best? We go for partial opening so that in terms of operation, they could fine-tune it along the way. Would the administration consider that option? Mr. Chairman, now I just now explained what's meant by partial opening. That is, at the start of the service, there's no need for 15 platforms. But if it could still provide the full set of service to cope with the passengers' needs, passenger service need, yes, we could consider it. But last time at the meeting in November, there was a discussion of whether there's just one tunnel or two tunnels. Now, that's a separate issue. But then the considerations then might be different from the considerations now. I hope the administration will have discussion with the MTRCL again to see how you could have partial opening and you could ensure a smooth operation in future. Dr. Elizabeth Quat. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is such a major incident. The CEO of a company cannot shirk his responsibility. We can't just say he has no responsibility whatsoever. Today, many members asked a lot of questions targeting how the chairman of the MTRCL would deal with the CEO. It's like last time. Last time you deliberately did not tell us that he would leave after the completion of his contract. You showed no respect to LegCo. This time, you're being perfunctory again in your answers. You try to evade the issue of pursuing the responsibility of the MTRCL CEO. I think it's most regrettable. Now, on the question of cost overrun, I didn't quite follow just now. If at the end of the day there will be cost overrun, I'm sure that's going to be the case, then who's going to pick up the tab for the cost overrun, the administration or the MTRCL? Secretary, from the information given by the MTRCL, we are not yet able to determine whether there will be cost overrun and how much that will be. But then last time the MTRCL submitted paper to LegCo, and you know that they still need to do a detailed assessment on this aspect. And in my opening remarks, I made it clear that we will follow strictly the entrustment agreements and any prevailing legal principles to deal with the issues. When would you know whether there might be cost overrun, and when could you come back to LegCo and tell us how you will deal with any cost overrun? Mr. Chairman, when I replied to a similar question, I said that at today's meeting, I cannot jump to conclusions as to when we could do it, but definitely we'll press on full steam with this matter. Thank you.
Mr. Porte, when I talk about delay recovery, of course we would like to do that, but what about the additional resources used for these measures? So they are interrelated. They will affect one another. So I think the administration should closely monitor what resources and what measures will be used to recover the time lost. But before you reach a consensus or before you reach an agreement, how do you make an assessment? As to how you will hold the MTRCL responsible and to make sure that there won't be any further delay. And in relation to governance, and well, when something is to be known is not known, and the board was not consulted about the resignation of the CEO. How do you expect the public to have faith in the governance? How will the public have confidence in your making sure that the MTRCL will make up for time lost? Mr. Chen. I thank the member for his question. I would like to say that when the CEO accepted the resignation of Mr. Chiu, the project's director, I don't remember the date. I think it was the next day that we had a board meeting. And in the board meeting, Mr. Chiu explained, and the CEO explained as well, and all board members accepted the explanation. And it was thought that decisions made by both people are right decisions. Mr. To, I would like to hear from the Secretary again. Why the administration doesn't use the Commission of Inquiry method, chaired by Mr. Lun, Justice Lun, to conduct the investigation? If you don't know, then I will send a letter to the acting chief executive or the chief executive. The setting of an independent expert panel is the decision of the administration. And as to why is not a commission of inquiry, well, do you know the reason? Yes, I do. The independent expert panel is chaired by a judge alongside with two overseas experts. They will have a comprehensive view of the delay and to find out the causes. But have you considered about the lack of summoning power? Well, there are many factors, organizations and human factors. But there is no such power. Do you think they will be able to find out the truth? I don't doubt their ability. Well, but for the subcontractors and the contractors of other layers, they will not have the duty to answer to this panel. Well, I'm not going to say in what way the panel will conduct its investigation. It will be by way of investigation on their own initiative, and they will not be held responsible if they lie. And there is no deterrence, no possibility of imprisonment. Have you considered that? I've already said what there is to say. Your question has already been answered. It's just that you don't accept that. Mr. Christopher Jong, I want to ask the project manager, Mr. Lomas, have you concealed anything about the project, yes or no? About the delay of the, yes or no? You said no. Can you swear to that? Let me tell you, I've worked in the MTRCL for the island line. Maggie So knows about this. Where there is minor amendment, you will revise the master schedule. Project management was properly done. You are the project manager. If you said that you did not know about this, isn't it a serious mistake? Because you'll be given a report, even if it's a minor amendment. Now you said no. Well, now I want to hear from the secretary. Well, in the FEHD, there is a colleague who uses someone else's to clock in, and he was charged and taken to court. Now that we have this group of people who are highly paid, they are cheating us of our money. Will you report it to the police and have them arrested? Who is this question for? The secretary? This is for the secretary. I don't have much to say because I'm not going to comment on the work of the FEHD. But this is the general practice when it comes to staff members cheating the government of money. We're talking about the project manager who is in the senior management. How come he doesn't know about the delay? I've worked in the MTRCL before. Mr. Lomas.
Simple no.
I was asked if I concealed information, and the answer to that question is no.
That he did not conceal anything. That means he doesn't know. That he's lying then. We now have 10 minutes, but I have a discretion to extend it by 15 minutes. I have to I have to deal with the two motions, one by Mr. Wu Chi-wai and one by Mr. Gary Fan, and then there is an additional one moved by Mr. Wu Chi-wai and James Toll. I would like to give them time to speak on the motions, about 5 minutes, and let's see if there are any objections on dealing with these motions, and then we'll put them to a vote if there is no objection. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, would you like to speak? We ask to exercise the LCPNP to set up a select committee in the name of the subcommittee of the on railways. The biggest problem we face is that all the information is tendered without any pressure from the legal aspect, and they can hide part of the truth, and they can be economical with the truth to evade their responsibility. So if we do not set up a select committee with the LCPNP, is the only viable option when there is no commission of inquiry set up. Otherwise, officials involved, senior members of the MTRCL, contractors may conceal certain facts, and we will not be able to find out. Mr. Gary Fan, and I would like to say that at the end of the year before last, the administration was suspected to be colluding with the MTRCL. On the 21st of November, there has been questioning of 5 or 4 questions. And in the end, they've decided to conceal the fact from the public and the subcommittee. And we find, with more information made available, we find that this indeed is the case. So whether it is the independent committee or the independent expert panel, they will not be able to find out the cause of the delay and to hold people responsible. How are we supposed to improve governance monitoring in future projects? So I hope that this subcommittee will invoke the LCPNP to look into the matter. One of the most important matter related to livelihood is this one in this legislative session. Mr. Wu, well, this motion is simpler. We just ask to have the entrustment agreement to be given to the subcommittee, and also the contract between the Highways Department and Jacobs China Limited, and the regular report submitted by Jacobs China Limited to the Highways Department since the signing of the contract between the two. And it's just been added about requesting the MTRCL data room to be open to the public. But as we know that members have to sign the confidentiality agreement before they can view the documents. And we now ask the data room to open its doors to the public, of course, barring any sensitive information or documents containing sensitive information. If there are no objections to the dealing of these three motions, I will deal with them one by one. First one is by Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Mr. Tong Li-Tse. Can I hear from the MTRCL or the administration first? I would like to hear about their views, say about obtaining documents. Which one? They can choose. The administration, would you like to respond? We've said all there is to say. In relation to Mr. Mr. Wu Chi-wai's motion, seconded by Mr. James To, that is the submission of all the agreements to the subcommittee. We will have to seek advice from the DOJ. MTRCL, would you like to?
For the purpose of the LegCo members, however, we have also set up a website for the XRL project, and we'll be putting information updated regularly on that website for the public.
Oh.
There are three motions, and I will put them to a vote one by one. As per past practice, I'm not going to vote. Mr. Gary Fan, I ask for a division. Just yours or all three? You can't speak for others. Or mine then. Mr. Wu Chi-wai? Yes, it can be done by division. 5 minutes. The bell will be rung for 5 minutes. Yes, division. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, those in favor, please raise their hands. 3. Those against, please raise their hands. The names will have to be jotted down. Wu Chi-wai for, Mr. James To and Gary Fan for, against. Ben Chan. Please read out the names. Those against, Wong Kwok Heng, Christopher Chung, Chen Kam Lam, Yip Chi Ming, Tony Tse, Regina Ip, Lo Wai Kwok, and Ben Chan. Anyone else? No? So this motion is negatived. The second one, Mr. Gary Fans. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Wu Chi-wai, James To, Gary Fan. 3. Those against, please raise their hands. Ben Chen, Regina Ip, Frankie Yek, Chen Kam Lam, Christopher Chung, Tony Tse, Lo Wai Kwok, Wong Kwok Heng. Any abstention? So the motion is negatived. Paul Tse as well. Paul Tse abstained. The third motion. Those in favor, please raise their hands. Wu Chi-wai, James To, Gary Fan, Paul Tse. Those against, please raise their hands. Ben Chan, Frankie Yek, Chen Kam Lam, Christopher Chung, Lo Wai Kwok. Those abstain, please raise their hands. Regina Ip and Wong Kwok Heng. Five against, 4 for, 2 abstentions. So this motion is also negatived. There is perfect timing. There is no need for an extension. Meeting adjourned. The next meeting will be on the 13th of June. Thank you.